Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Reading from Canto 10, Chapter 15, The Killing of Dhenuka, the Ass Demon. Chapter Summary. This chapter describes how Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna, while tending their cows in the pastures of Vrindavan, killed Dhenukasura, enabled the residents of Vrindavan to eat the fruits of the tala trees, and saved the young cow herds from Kali's poison. Revealing their boyhood Paganda phase of pastimes, Rama and Krishna were one day bringing the cows to pasture when they entered the attractive forest decorated with a clear lake. There they began playing forest sports along with their friends. Pretending to tire, Lord Baladev laid his head upon the lap of a cowherd boy and resting, as Lord Krishna helped relieve his elder brother's fatigue by massaging his feet. Then Krishna also placed his head on the lap of the cowherd boy to rest, and another cowherd boy who massaged his feet. This way Krishna, Balaram and their cowherd friends enjoyed various pastimes. During this play, Sridham, Subal, Soga, Krishna, and other cowherd boys described to Rama and Krishna a wicked and irrepressible demon named Dhenuka, who had assumed the form of a jackass and was living in the Talavan forest near Govardhan Hill. This forest was full of many varieties of sweet fruits, but fearing the demon, no one dared to relish the taste of those fruits. Thus, someone had to kill the demon and all his associates. Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, hearing of the situation, set off for this forest to fulfill the desire of their companions. Arriving at Talavan, Lord Balaram shook many fruits out of the palm trees, and as soon as he did so, the jackass demon, Dhenuka, ran swiftly to attack him. But Balaram grabbed his hind legs with one hand, whirled him around, and threw him into the top of a tree, thus slaying him. All of Dhenukasura's friends, overcome by fury, then rushed to attack. But Ram and Krishna took hold of them one by one, swung them around and killed them until the disturbance was finally finished. When Krishna and Balaram returned to the cowherd community, Yashoda and Rohini placed them on their respective laps. They kissed their faces, fed them with finely prepared food, and then put them to bed. Some days later, Lord Krishna went with his friends, but without his older brother, to the banks of the Kalindi in order to tend the cows. The cows and the cowherd boys became very thirsty and drank some water from the Kalindi. But it had been contaminated with poison, and they all fell unconscious on the riverbank. Krishna then brought them back to life by merciful rain of his glance, and all of them, regaining their consciousness, appreciated his great mercy. Shri Sukha Vacha Tatascha Pauganda Vayashitau Vraje Babhuvatustau Pashupalo Sammato Gascharayanto Shakhibi Samampade Vrindavanam Punyamativa Chakratu. Shukadeva Goswami said, when Lord Ram and Lord Krishna attained the age of Pauganda, 6 to 10, while living in Vrindavan, the cowherd men allowed them to take up the task of tending the cows. Engaging thus in the company of their friends, the two boys rendered the land of Vrindavan most auspicious by imprinting upon it the marks of their lotus feet. The Lord Krishna wanted to encourage his cowherd boys' friends, who had been swallowed by Aghasura and then stolen by Lord Brahma. Therefore, the Lord decided to bring them into the palm tree forest called Talavan, where there were many delicious ripe fruits. Since Lord Krishna's spiritual body had apparently grown slightly in age and strength, the senior men of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, decided to promote Krishna from the task of herding calves to the status of regular cowherd boy. He would not take care of the full-grown cows, bulls, and oxen. Out of great affection, Nanda Maharaj had previously considered Krishna too small and immature to take care of the full-grown cows and bulls. This is stated in the Kartika Mahatmya section in the Padma Purana. Suklashtami Kartiketu Smrita Gopashtami Budhe Tad Dinad Vasudevo Bhud Gopa Purvam Tu Vatsapa. The 8th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Kartik is known by authorities as Gopashtami. From that day, Lord Vasudeva served as a cowherd, whereas previously he had tended the calves. The word Padai indicates that Lord Krishna blessed the earth by walking on her surface with his lotus feet. The Lord wore no shoes or the footgear, but walked barefoot in the forest, giving great anxiety to the girls of Vrindavan who feared that his soft lotus feet would be injured. Tanmadhavo vena mudirayan vrito gopar grinadbhisvarya sobalanvita pashun purak skritya pashavyam avisad vihartu kama kusumar karam vanam. Thus, desiring to enjoy pastimes on Madhava, sounding his flute, surrounded by cowherd boys who were chanting his glories and accompanied by Lord Baladev, kept the cows before him and entered the Vrindavan forest, which was full of flowers and rich with nourishment for the animals. Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained the various meanings of the word Madhava as follows. Madhava normally indicates Krishna to the Lord, to be the Lord who is the consort of the goddess of fortune Lakshmi. This name also implies that Lord Krishna descended in the dynasty of Madhu. Since the spring season is also known as Madhava, it is understood that as soon as Lord Krishna entered the Vrindavan forest, it automatically exhibited the opulences of spring, becoming filled with flowers, breezes, and celestial atmosphere. Another reason Lord Krishna is known as Madhava is that he enjoys his pastimes in Madhu, the taste of conjugal love. Lord Krishna would loudly sound his flute as he entered the forest of Sri Vrindavan, thus giving inconceivable bliss to all the residents of his hometown Brajadam. These simple pastimes of playfully entering the forest, playing on the flute, and so forth were performed daily in the spiritual land of Vrindavan. Tanmanju Goshali Chali Mrigadvija Kulam Mahan Mana Prakya Paya Saraswata Vatena Justam Shatapatra Gandhina Nirikshya Rantum Bhagavan Manodade. The Supreme Personality of Godhead looked over that forest, which resounded with the charming sound of bees, animals, and birds, and which was enhanced by a lake whose clear water resembled the minds of great souls, and by a breeze carrying the fragrance of 100-petal lotuses. Seeing all this, Lord Krishna decided to enjoy the auspicious atmosphere. Lord Krishna saw that Vrindavan forest was giving pleasure to all five senses. The bees, birds, animals made charming sounds that brought sweet pleasure to the ears. The wind was faithfully rendering service to the Lord by blowing throughout the forest, carrying the cool moisture of a transparent lake, and thus giving pleasure to the sense of touch. By the sweetness of the wind, even the sense of taste was being stimulated, and the fragrance of the lotus flower was bringing pleasure to the nostrils. And the entire forest was endowed with heavenly beauty, which was giving spiritual bliss to the eyes. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has thus explained the significance of this verse. Satatra tatra runa pallava shriya phala prasru noru bharena padayo sprishat chikhan vikshya vanaspatin muda samyan ivahagratam jam adi purusha. The primary Lord saw that the stately trees with their beautiful reddish buds and their heavy burden of fruits and flowers were bending down to touch his feet with the tips of their branches. Thus he smiled gently and addressed his elder brother. The words Mudas Mayan Eva indicates that Lord Krishna was in a joking mood. He knew that the trees were actually bowing down to worship him. But in the following verse, the Lord, speaking in a friendly, light-hearted mood, gives the credit to his brother Balaram. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aho ami deva varamararchitam padam bhujam te sumanna falarhanam namantyupadaya shikha biratmana stamo pahatye taru janma yatkritam. The personality God had said, O greatest of lords, just see how these trees are bowing their heads at your lotus feet, which are worshipable by the immortal demigods. The trees are offering you their fruits and flowers to eradicate the dark ignorance that has caused their birth as trees. The trees of Vrindavan were thinking that because of past offenses they had not taken birth as trees, and being immovable, could not accompany Lord Krishna in his wanderings throughout the Vrindavan area. In fact, all creatures of Vrindavan, including the trees and cows, were great souls who could personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of ecstatic sentiments of separation, the trees considered themselves in ignorance. and thus tried to purify themselves by bowing down at the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Lord Krishna, understanding their mentality, simultaneously glanced at them with affection and praised the devotional service before his older brother Balaram. Ete linastavaya shokhila lokatirtham gayant adi purushanupatham bhajante prayo ami manugana bhavadiya mukhya gudamane pina jahatya naghatma daivam. O original personality, these bees must all be great sages and most elevated devotees of yours, for they are worshipping you by following you along the path and chanting your glories, which are themselves a holy place for the entire world. Though you have disguised yourself within the forest of Sinless One, they refuse to abandon you, their worshipable Lord. The word Gudham is significant in this verse. It indicates that although Supreme Personality Godhead in his form of Krishna or Balaram appears like an ordinary human being within the material world, great sages always recognize the Lord as the supreme absolute truth. All the transcendental forms of Godhead are eternal and full of bliss and knowledge, exactly the opposite of our material bodies, which are temporary and full of misery and ignorance. One meaning of the word Tirtha is the means for crossing beyond material existence. Simply by hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord or by chanting them, one immediately comes to the spiritual platform beyond material existence. Thus, the Lord's transcendental glories are here described as Tirtha. For everyone in the world, the word Gayanta indicates that great sages give up the vows of silence and other selfish processes to glorify the activities of the Supreme Lord. Real silence means to not speak nonsense, to limit one's verbal activity to those sound statements and discussions relevant to the loving service of the Supreme Lord. The word anagha indicates that the Supreme Lord never performs sinful or offensive activities. The word also indicates that the Lord immediately excuses a sin or offense committed by a sincere loving devotee who may accidentally deviate from the Lord's service. In the specific context of this verse, the word anagha indicates that Lord Balaram was not disturbed by the bees who were constantly following him, anupatham. The Lord blessed them by saying, "O bees, come into my confidential grove and feel free to taste its fragrance." Nityanti amishikina idya mura harinya kurvanti gopya ivate priyam ikshanena shuktaischa kokila gana griham agataya dhanya vanaukasayan hisatam nisarga. O worshipable one, these peacocks are dancing before you out of joy. These doe are pleasing you with affectionate glances, just as the gopis do. These cuckoos are honoring you with Vedic prayers. All these residents of the forest are most fortunate, and their behavior toward you certainly befits great souls receiving another great soul at home. Dhanyeyam adya dharani trina virudhastvat padas prishodrumat latakara jabhimrishtaya nadyodhraya kaga mrigasadayavalokai gopyontarene bhujayorapi yatsprihashri. This earth has now become most fortunate because you have touched her grass and brushes with your feet and her trees and creepers with your fingernails, and because you have graced her rivers, mountain birds, and animals with your merciful glances. But above all, you have embraced young coward women between your two arms, a favor hankered after the goddess of fortune herself. The word Adya now indicates the time of Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna's appearance on earth. In his form of Varaha, Lord Krishna personally saved the earth, and indeed, the earth is understood to rest perpetually on the potency of Shesha. Both Varaha and Shesha are expansions of Balaram, who is himself an expansion of Lord Krishna, the original personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna's statement that this earth has now become most fortunate, Dhanyeyam Adya Dharani, indicates that nothing can equal the blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his personal form as Krishna, appearing simultaneously with his plenary expansion, Balaram. The compound word Karaja Bhimrishta, touched by your fingernails, indicate that as Krishna and Balaram would move through the forest, they would pick fruits and flowers from the trees, rushes and creepers, and use this paraphernalia in their pleasure pastimes Sometimes they would break leaves of the plants and use them with the flowers to decorate their bodies. Krishna and Balaram would glance lovingly and mercifully at all the river, hills, and creatures in Vrindavan. With the blessing received by the gopis being embraced directly between the Lord's arms was the supreme benediction, desired even by the goddess of fortune herself. The goddess of fortune who lives in Vaikuntha on the chest of Lord Narayan once desired to be embraced on the chest of Sri Krishna. Thus she performed severe studies to achieve this blessing. Sri Krishna informed her that her actual place was in Vaikuntha, that it was not possible for her to dwell upon his chest in Vrindavan. Therefore she begged Krishna to allow her to remain on his chest in the form of a golden lion, and he granted her this benediction. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recounts this incident from the Puranas. Shri Shukho Vacha Evam Vrindavanam Srimad Krishna Pritamana Pasun Reme Sancharayan Adre Saridrodhasu Sanuga. Shukadeva Goswami said, thus expressing his satisfaction with the beautiful forest of Vrindavan and its inhabitants, Lord Krishna enjoyed tending the cows and other animals with his friends on the banks of the river Yamuna below Govardhan Hill. Kvachit Gayati Gayatu Madandalisvanuvrataye Upagiyamana Charita Pati Sankarshananvita Anujalpati Jalpantam Kalavakya Shukam Kvachit Svagvalgu Kujantam Anukujati Kokilam Kvachit Chitkala Hamsanam Anukujati Kujitam Abhinrityati Nrityantam Barhinam Hasayan Kvachit Negagam Bhiraya Vacha Nama Bhiduragan Pashun Kvachid Vayati Pritya Gogopala Manodnya Ya. Sometimes the honeybees in Vrindavan became so mad with ecstasy that they closed their eyes and began to sing. Lord Krishna, moving along the forest path with his cowherd boyfriends and Baladev, would then respond to the bees by imitating their singing while his friends sang about his pastimes. Sometimes Lord Krishna would imitate the chattering of a parrot, sometimes with a sweet voice the call of a cuckoo, and sometimes the cooing of swans. Sometimes he vigorously imitated the dancing of a peacock, making his cowherd boyfriends laugh. Sometimes with a voice as deep as the rumbling of clouds, he would call out with great affection the names of the animals who had wandered far from the herd, thus enchanting the cows and the cowherd boys. Sri Sanatana Goswami explains that Lord Krishna would joke with his friends, saying, "Just look, this peacock does not know how to dance properly," whereas the Lord would vigorously imitate the peacock's dancing, causing great laughter amongst his friends. The bees in Vrindavan would drink the sap of the forest flowers, and the combination of this nectar and the association of Sri Krishna made them mad with intoxication. Thus they closed their eyes in ecstasy and expressed the satisfaction by humming, and this humming was also expertly imitated by the Lord. Chakora Kroncha Chakrava Bharadvam Dvajamscha Barhina Anurauti Sma Satvanam Vitavad Vyagra Samhayo. Sometimes he would cry out in imitation of birds such as chakoras, kranchas, chakravas, bharadvajas, dvajas, and peacocks, and sometimes he would run away with the smaller animals in mock fear of lions and tigers. The Bhitavat, as if afraid, indicates that Lord Krishna played just like an ordinary boy and ran with smaller forest creatures in mock fear of lions and tigers. Actually, in Vrindavan, the abode of the Lord, the lions and tigers are not violent, and thus there is no reason to fear them. Kvachit krida parishrantam gopo sangopa bharhanam swayam vishramayatyaryam pada samvahanadivi. When his elder brother, fatigued from playing, would lie down with his head upon the lap of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna would help him relax by personally massaging his feet and offering other services. The word pada samvahanadivi indicates that Lord Krishna would massage Balaram's feet, fan him, and bring him river water to drink. Nrityato gayata kwapi Bhagato yudhyato mita Lihita hasto gopalan hasanto prashasham satu. Sometimes, as the cowherd boys danced, sang, moved about, and playfully fought with each other, Krishna and Balaram, standing nearby, hand in hand, would glorify their friends' activities and laugh. Kvachit pallavat talpeshu niyudashramat karshita rikshamula sete gopo sangopabharhana. Sometimes Lord Krishna grew tired from fighting and lay down at the base of a tree, resting upon a bed made of soft twigs and buds, and using the lap of a cowherd friend as his pillow. Word Pallava Talpeshu implies that Lord Krishna expanded himself into many forms and lay down upon many beds of twigs, leaves, and flowers hastily constructed by his enthusiastic cowherd friends. Pada samvahanam chakru kechit tasya mahatmana apare hata papmano yajane samavijayan. Some of the cowherd boys, who were all great souls, would then massage his lotus feet. Others, qualified by being free of all sin, would expertly fan the Supreme Lord. The word sama vijyan indicates that the cowherd boys fanned the Lord very carefully and expertly, creating gentle and cool breezes. Anyetad anurupani manojnani mahatmanaha gayanti sma maharaja snehaklina tyasanai. My dear king, other boys would sing enchanting songs appropriate to the occasion, and their hearts would melt out of love for the Lord. Evam nigurhatma gati swamayaya gopatma jatvam charitair vidambayan Reme ramalalita pada pallavo gramya samam gramya vadisha chestita. In this way, the Supreme Lord, whose soft lotus feet are personally attended by the goddess of fortune, concealed his transcendental opulences by his internal potency and acted like a son of a cowherd. Yet even while enjoying like a village boy in the company of other village residents, he often exhibited feats only God could perform. Sri Dhamma Nama Gopalo Rama Keshavayo Sakha Subala Stoka Krishnadya Gopa Premnedam Abhruvan. Once some of the cowherd boy Sri Dhamma, the very close friend of Rama and Krishna, along with Subala, Stoka Krishna, and others, lovingly spoke the following words. The word Premana, with love, indicates that the request the cowherd boys are about to place before Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, is motivated by love, not personal desire. The cowherd boys were eager for Krishna and Balaram to exhibit their pastimes of killing demons, to enjoy the delicious fruit of the Tala forest. Therefore, they made the following request. Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nibadhana Ito Vidure Sumahad Vanam Talali Sankulam. The cowherd boys said, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, the destroyer of the miscreants, not far from here is a very great forest filled with rows of palm trees. As stated in the Sri Varaha Purana, Asti Govardhanam Nama Kshetram Paramadurlabham Mathura Paschime Bhage Adurad Yojana Advayam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, at a distance of 2 yojanas, 16 miles, is the holy place named Govardhan, which is most difficult to attain. It is also stated in Varaha Purana, Asti Talavanam Nama Dhenu Kasura Rakshitam Mathura Paschime Bhage Aduradeka Yojanam. Not far from the western side of Mathura, 1 yojana away, 8 miles, is the forest known as Talavan, which was guarded by Dhenukasura. Thus it appears that the Talavan forest is located midway between Mathura and Govardhan Hill. The forest of Talavan is described in the Sri Harimamsa as follows. Satudesha Samasnigdha Sumahan Krishna Mritika Darva Praya Stuli Bhuto Lostra Pashana Varjita. The land there is even smooth and very expensive. The earth is black, densely covered with darbha grass, and devoid of stones and pebbles. Falani Tatra Bhurini patanti patitani cha shanti kintva varuddhani dhenukena duratmana. In that Talavan forest, many fruits are falling from the trees, and many are already lying on the ground. But all the fruits are being guarded by the evil Dhenuka. The demon Dhenuka would not allow anyone to eat the delicious ripe palm fruits of the Talavan. And Krishna's young boyfriends protested the unjust usurpation of the right to enjoy the fruits of a public forest. Soti Viryo Suro Rama He Krishna Kara Rupa Drik Atmatulya Balairanyar Bhir Bahubhir Rita. O Rama, O Krishna, Dhenuka is the most powerful demon and has assumed the form of an ass. He is surrounded by many friends who have assumed a similar shape, who are just as powerful as he. Tasmat Krita Naraharad Bhitair Nirbir Amitrahan Na Sevyate Pashughanai Pakshi Sangai Vivarjitam. The demon Dhenuka has eaten men alive, and therefore all people and animals are terrified of going to the Tal forest. O killer of the enemy, even the birds are afraid to fly there. The coward boyfriends of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram encouraged the two brothers to go at once to the Tal forest and kill the ass demon. Indeed, here they addressed the brothers as Amitrahan, killer of the enemy. The coward boys were engaged in ecstatic meditation upon the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and reasoned thus. Krishna had already killed terrible demons like Baka and Agha. So what is so special about the obnoxious jackass named Dhenuka, who has become public enemy number one in Vrindavan? The coward boys wanted Krishna and Balaram to kill the demons so that all the pious inhabitants of Vrindavan could enjoy the fruits in the Tal forest. Thus they requested the special favor that the ass demon be killed. Vidyante bhukta purvani falani surabhini cha esha vai surabhir gandho vishuchino vagrahyate. In the Tal forest are sweet-smelling fruits no one has ever tasted. Indeed, even now, we can smell the fragrance of the Tal forest spreading all about. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the sweet fragrance of the Tal fruits was carried by an easterly wind, which is conducive to rain in Vrindavan area. This easterly wind generally blows in the month of Bhadra, and thus indicates the excellent ripeness of the fruits, while the fact that the boys could smell them indicates the nearness of the Tal forest. Prayachatani na Krishna gandha lopita chetasam vanchasi mahati rama gamyatam yadi rochate. O Krishna, please get those fruits for us. Our minds are so attracted by their aroma. Dear Balaram, our desires to have those fruits is very great. If you think it's a good idea, let's go to that Tal forest. Although neither man nor bird nor beast could even approach the Tal forest, the coward boys had so much faith in Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram that they took it for granted that the two lords could effortlessly kill the sinful ass demon acquired the delicious Tal fruits. Lord Krishna's coward boyfriends are exalted, self-realized souls who would not ordinarily become greedy for sweet fruits. In fact, they are simply joking with Lord and enthusing his pastimes, urging him to perform unprecedented heroic feats in the Tal forest. Innumerable demons disturbed by the sublime atmosphere of Vrindavan during Lord Krishna's presence there, and the Lord would kill such demon as popular daily event. Since Lord Krishna had already killed many demons on this particular day, he decided to give first honors to Lord Balaram, who would demolish the first demon Dhenuka by the word Yadi Rochite. The coward boys indicated that Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram need not kill the demons simply to satisfy them. Rather, they should do so only if the demons of the lords themselves found the concept appealing. Evam suhrid vacha shrutva suhrid priya chiki vishaya rahasya jagmatur gopair ritau talavanam prabhu. Hearing the words of their dear companions, Krishna and Balaram laughed and, desiring to please them, set off for the Talavan surrounded by their coward boyfriends. Lord Krishna was thinking, how can a mere ass be so formidable? Thus he smiled at the petition of his boyfriends. As stated by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:28-32, Hasam Harer Avanata Khila Lokotivra Sokhashru Sagara Vishoshanam Atyudaram. The smile and laughter of the Supreme Lord is most magnanimous. Indeed, for those who bow down to the Lord, his smile and laughter dry up the ocean of tears and caused by the intense suffering of this world. Thus, to encourage their boyfriends, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram smiled, laughed, and immediately set out with them for the Tal forest. Bala pravishya bahunbhyam talan samparikam payan falani patayamasa matangaja ivojasa. Lord Balaram entered the Tal forest first. Then, with his two arms, he began forcefully shaking the trees with the power of a maddened elephant, causing the tal fruits to fall to the ground. Phalanam patatam sabdam nishamya sura rasabha abhyadhavat shiti talam sanagam parikampayan. Hearing the sound of the falling fruits, the ass demon Dhenaka ran forward to attack, making the earth and trees tremble. Samitya tarasa pratyag dvabhyam padbhyam balam bali nihatyo rasika shabdam munchan pariya sarat kala. The powerful demon rushed up to Lord Baladev and sharply struck the Lord's chest with the hooves of his hind legs. Then Dhenuka began to run about, braying loudly. Punar asadya Rabdha upakroshta paragsita charanav aparo rajan balaya prakshipa durusha. Moving again toward Lord Balaram, O king, the furious ass situated himself with his back toward the Lord. Then screaming and raised, the demon hurled his two hind legs at him. The word upakroshta indicates an ass and also one who is crying out nearby. Thus it is indicated herein that the powerful Dhenuka made horrible angry sounds. Satam grihitva prapador brahmayitvaiva panina chikshepatrina rajagre brahmana tyaktva jivitam. When Lord Balaram seized Dhenuka by his hooves, by his hooves, twirled him about with one hand, threw him into the top of a palm tree. The violent wheeling emotion killed the demon. Tena hato mahatalo vipamano chira parshvastam kampayan bhagna sachanyam sopi chaparam. Now Balaram threw the dead body of Dhenukasura into the tallest palm tree in the forest, and when the dead demon landed in the treetop, the tree began shaking. The great palm tree causing a tree by its side to also shake, broke under the weight of the demon. The neighboring tree caused yet another tree to shake, and this one struck yet another tree, which also began shaking. This way, many trees in the forest shook and broke. Lord Balaram threw the demon Dhenuka so violently into the great palm tree that a chain reaction was unleashed, and many towering palm trees shook and then broke with a great crashing sound. Balasya lilayot shrishta karadeha hata hata talascha kampire sarve mahavaterita iva. Because Lord Balaram's pastimes of throwing the body of the ass demon into the top of the tallest palm tree, all the trees began shaking and striking against another as if blown about by powerful winds. Like that Chitram Bhagavati Yanante Jagadishvare Ota Protam Idam Yasmims Tanushvanga Tathapatha. My dear Parikshit, That Lord Balaram killed Hirakasura is not such a wonderful thing, considering that he is the unlimited personality of Godhead, the controller of the entire universe. Indeed, the entire cosmos rests upon him, just as a woven cloth rests upon its own horizontal and vertical threads. Unfortunate persons cannot appreciate the blissful pastimes of the Supreme Lord. In this connection, Srila Jiva Goswami explains that the Supreme Lord possesses unlimited potency and strength, as expressed here by the word Anante. The Lord exhibits a tiny fraction of his power according to the need of a particular situation. Lord Balaram desired to vanquish the gang of demoniac asses who had unlawfully seized the Talavan forest. Therefore, he exhibited just enough divine opulence to easily kill the Dhenukasura and the other demons. Tata Krishnam cha Ramam cha Nyatayo Dhenukasyate Kasye Kroshtaro Bhadravan Sarve Samrabdha Hatabandhava. The other Asimin, close friends of Dhenukasura, were enraged upon seeing his death, and thus they all immediately ran to attack Krishna and Balaram. Sri Sanatana Goswami makes the following comment on this verse. It is stated here that the ass demons first attacked Krishna and then Balaram. Krishnam cha Ramam cha. One reason for this is that the demons, having seen the prowess of Lord Balaram, thought it wise to attack Krishna first. Or it may be that out of affection for his elder brother, Lord Krishna placed himself between Balaram and the ass demons. The word Krishnam cha Ramam cha may also be understood to indicate that Lord Balaram, out of affection for his younger brother, went to Lord Krishna's side. Tamstan apatata Krishno Ramascha nripan lilaya grihita paschach charanan prahinot trinarajasu. O king, as the ass demons attacked Krishna and Balaram, easily seized them one after another by their hind legs and threw them all into the tops of the palm tree. Phala prakara sankirnam daitya dehairgata subhi raja bhusa thalagrair ghaner ivana bastalam. The earth then appeared beautifully covered with heaps of fruits and with the dead bodies of the demons, which were entangled in the broken tops of the palm trees. Indeed, the earth shone like the sky decorated with clouds. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the bodies of the demons were dark, like dark blue clouds, and the large quantities of blood that had flowed from their bodies appeared like bright red clouds. Thus, the whole scene was very beautiful. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his various forms, such as Rama and Krishna, is always transcendental, and when he enacts the transcendental pastimes, the result is always beautiful and transcendental, even when the Lord performs violent acts like killing the stubborn ass demons. Tayos tatsu mahat karma nishamya vibudhadaya umuchu pushpa varshani chakrur vadyani tushtuvu. Hearing of this magnificent feat of the two brothers, the demigods and other elevated living beings rained down flowers and offered music and prayers and glorification. Sri Sanatana Goswami comments that the demigods, great sages, and other exalted beings were all astonished and ecstatic upon seeing the unusually swift and nonchalant way in which Krishna and Balaram killed the very powerful ass demons in the Tal forest. Atatala falanyadan manusyagata sadvasa trinamcha pashavas chirur hatadenuka khanane. People now felt free to return to the forest where Dhenuka had been killed, and without fear they ate the fruits of the palm trees. Also, the cows would now graze freely upon the grass there. According to the Acharyas, low-class people such as Pulindas ate the fruits of the palm trees, but Krishna's coward boyfriends considered them undesirable, since they had been tainted with the blood of the asses. Krishna Kamala Patraksha Punya Shravana Kirtana Striyamano Nugai Gope Sagrajo Vrajam Avrajat. Then lotus-eyed Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories are most highest to hear and chant, returned home to Braj with his elder brothers. Balaram, along the way the coward boys, his faithful followers, chanted his glories. When the glories of Sri Krishna are vibrated, both the speakers and the hearers are purified and become pious. Tam go rajas churita kuntala badabhara Vanya Prasuna Ruchirekshana Charuhasam Venum Konantam Anugairupageeta Kirtan Kopyo Didrikshita Drisho Bhyagaman Sameta. Lord Krishna's hair, powdered with the dust raised by the cows, was decorated with a peacock feather and forest flowers. The Lord glanced charmingly and smiled beautifully, playing upon his flute, while his companions chanted his glories. The gopis all together came forward to meet him, their eyes very eager to see him. Superficially, the gopis were young married girls, and therefore they would naturally be ashamed and fearful of casting loving glances at a beautiful young boy like Sri Krishna. But Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all living beings are his eternal servants. Thus the gopis, although the most pure-hearted of all great souls, did not hesitate to come forward to satisfy their love-struck eyes by drinking the sight beautiful young Krishna. The gopis also relished the sweet sound of his flute and enchanting fragrance of his body. Vitvamukunda mukhasaragham akshibringais tapam jagur viraha jam raja yoshito ni tatsat samadhigamya vivesha goshtam savridha hasa vinayam yad apangamoksham. With their bee-like eyes, the women of Vrindavan drank the honey of the beautiful face of Lord Mukunda. Thus they gave up the distress they had felt during the day because of separation from him. The young Vrindavan ladies would cast sidelong glances at the Lord, glances filled with bashfulness, laughter, and submission. And Sri Krishna, completely accepting these glances as proper offering of respect, entered the cowherd village. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality Goddess, Srila Prabhupada describes the incident as follows. All the gopis in Vrindavan remained very morose on the account of Krishna's absence. All day they were thinking of Krishna in the forest, of him herding cows in the pasture. When they saw Krishna returning, all their anxieties were immediately relieved, and they began to look at his face the way drones hover over the honey of the lotus flower. When Krishna entered the village, the young gopis smiled and laughed. Krishna, while playing the flute, enjoyed the beautiful smiling faces of the gopis. Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme master of romantic skills. Thus he expertly engaged loving feelings with the young cowherd girls of Vrindavan. When a chaste young girl is in love, she glances at her beloved with shyness, jubilation, and submission. When the beloved accepts her offering of love by receiving her glance and is thus satisfied with her, the loving young girl's heart becomes filled with happiness. These were exactly the romantic exchanges taking place between beautiful young Krishna and the loving cowherd girls of Vrindavan. Tayor Yashodarohinyo putrayo putra vatsale yatha kamam yatha kalam vyadatam paramashisha. Mother Yashoda and Mother Rohini, acting most affectionately toward their two sons, offered all the best things to them in response to their every desire at the various appropriate times. The word Paramashisha indicates the attractive blessings of a loving mother, which include wonderful foods, beautiful clothes, jewelry, toys, and constant affection. The words Yatha Kamam, Yatha Kalam indicates that although Yashoda and Rohini satisfied all the desires of their sons, Krishna and Balaram, they also properly regulated the boys' activities. In other words, they prepared wonderful food for their children, but they saw to it that the boys ate at proper time. Similarly, their children would play at the proper time and sleep at the proper time. The word Yatha Kamam does not indicate that the mothers discriminately allowed the boys to do whatever they liked, but in the proper civilized way, they showered their blessings upon their children. Sri Sanatana Goswami comments that the mothers loved their sons so much that as they embraced them, they would carefully check all their limbs to see if they were healthy and strong. Gatadvana Shamo Tatra Majanon Mardhanadipi Nivim Vasitva Ruchiram Divya Shakanda Mandito. By being bathed and massaged, the two young lords were relieved of their weariness caused by walking on the country roads. Then they were dressed in attractive robes and decorated with transcendental garlands and fragrances. Jananyapahritam prashya swadhyanam upalalito samvishya varasayana sayayam sukham sushupaturraje. After drinking sumptuously on the delicious fruit given them by after dining sumptuously on the delicious food given them by their mothers and being pampered in various ways, the two brothers laid down. Their excellent beds happily went to sleep in the village of Braj. Evam sa Bhagavan Krishna Vrindavana Chara Kvachit Yayo Ramam Hrite Rajan Kalindim Sakibhir Vrita. O King, the Supreme Lord Krishna thus wandered about the Vrindavan area performing his pastimes. Once surrounded by his boyfriends, he went without Balaram to the Yamuna river. Athagavascha gopascha nidaghatapa pidita dushtam jalam papustasya trishnartha vishadushitam. At that time, the cows and cowherd boys were feeling acute distress from the glaring summer sun. Afflicted by thirst, they drank the water of the Yamuna river, but it had been contaminated with poison. Vishambhastad upasprishya daivo pahata chetasa nipetur vyasava sarve sali lante kurudvaha vikshatan vaitatha bhutan krishno yogeshwara ikshamrita varshinya swanathan samajivayat. As soon as they touched the poisoned water, all the cows and boys lost their consciousness by the divine power of the Lord and fell lifeless on the water's edge. O hero of the Kurus, seeing them in such a condition, Lord Krishna, the master of all masters of mystic potency, felt compassion for these devotees who had no Lord other than him. Thus he immediately brought them back to life by showering his nectarian glands upon them. Tesam pratita smritaya samuthaya jalantikat asansu vismita sarve vikshamana parasparam. Regaining their full consciousness, the cows and boys stood up of the water and began to look at one another in great astonishment. Anvamam satatad rajan govindanugrahekshitam pitva visham paretasya punar utthanam atmana. O King, the cowherd boys then considered that although they had drunk poison and in fact had died, simply by merciful glance of Govinda, they had regained their lives and stood up by their own strength. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Killing of Denakasura, the Ass Demon. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.